everyone, Dale here, Relentless Hunting, and I'm going to show you guys the technique I use to winterize my camper. We've still got some more hunts for this year, but it's going to be winter time and we're going to be staying in hotels and just traveling from home for the rest of the hunt. So it's time to winterize this camper, and like I said, I'll show you my technique. I would definitely recommend you read all your owner's manuals for your particular rig and your setup, but this is how I do it for me. And so the first thing I'll do, I'm going to go reposition this, is you want to make sure that your freshwater tank has been drained. And so when I was leaving the mountains, I just popped this out so all of my fresh water is completely out. It's bone dry in there, so I can put the cap back on there when I'm done. So that's one of the first things to keep in mind. So I snugged that up pretty tight. These plastic fittings, they don't have to be extremely tight. Next year when I start to fill this, if I see it dripping a little bit, I can just tighten it a little bit more. Alright, so the next thing to do is to drain your hot water heater. This one in particular holds 6 gallons in there, so if you forget to do that, you're going to ruin your hot water heater because it'll turn into a block of ice in there. So locate the drain. In this case, it's this one here. And typically it's like a plastic type fitting. Just find an appropriate wrench or pliers to get that and loosen that. Alright, so I've got it loosened. I can finish taking this out just by hand. And see the water starts to drain out. So I'm going to place this in here so I don't lose it. I'm going to let that drain for quite a while I go into the inside of the rig. Alright, so on the inside I like to do a very thorough cleaning, wipe everything down, sweep it, vacuum it. Make sure you go through all of your storage compartments and make sure there's nothing perishable, no food, nothing that can go rotten or freeze and crack in the wintertime. So go through every single one of your storage compartments. Also your refrigerator, make sure you turn it off and really clean this thing out. Don't let anything stay in here that is perishable. I do leave cooking oil and things in there. I've never had a problem with that. I will end up putting them down in those trays there. So if they do leak, they're going to be in those trays. The other thing to keep in mind when you store this though is make sure you store this with these open. That way air can get in there. Otherwise, if there's a little bit of moisture in there, it can mold throughout storage. They also make these little clips that can help hold it. You put that in here and it'll hold the door open for you. I prefer just to, once I put it in storage, I'm parked, I've opened them up about that far so I get plenty of airflow. So this is up underneath one of the bunks here. This is the other side of the hot water heater. So it's all insulated, you can still hear the water pouring out of it. But typically water heaters, they have a bypass valve for their water supply. So you want to make sure you shut that off before you start running antifreeze through your plumbing, because I've heard that the antifreeze can corrode and ruin your hot water heater. So you need to locate your valve. My previous camper only had one. This one has 2. I'm going to make sure I turn those off to block the flow of liquid going in. So those are turned off now. Then the other thing that's really nice is to locate your water pump. And if you don't have one yet, you should try to put one in. There's typically a splitter here with a valve, and I'll show you how to use this. So my freshwater tank is here, the hose that goes inside is there, it comes back, and there's a splitter that I can control which direction this pump or what this pump is pumping from, either my freshwater or my antifreeze tank. So on my last camper I installed one of those and it was pretty cheap and easy to do, so I'd recommend that for sure. Up next, you want to go ahead and purchase some RV and marine antifreeze and just try to find some high quality that definitely goes well below the coldest temperature you're expecting for the winter time. And they're available from anywhere you can buy RV supplies. I bought this from a ranch store, and each camper is different. You have to kind of experiment and keep track from year to year when you switch campers how much antifreeze it takes, because you need to fill up basically all the tubing and pipes in your entire camper with this. So my previous one was around 3 gallons. This one I believe is around 4. I always buy a little bit extra and put some extra in my holding tanks when I'm done. Alright, so you can see I've inserted the tube that comes out of this valve here that changes where my water pump is sucking the liquid out of. So now I need to just change the direction of this valve. There we go. So now it's cut off the supply to this hose, which was going to there, and it should be sucking up from this tank, this gallon tank of gallon jug of antifreeze. So I will turn on my water pump next. Turning on the water pump. Alright, so the water pump is on, but nothing's happening right now until I turn on one of these valves and open it up. And now, look, the level of antifreeze is being withdrawn. It's going out of this gallon. It's being pumped into my pipes. And so what I'm going to do is keep monitoring this. And what I like to do, this is like a pinkish type color, is use a white cup and make sure you're getting a nice consistent color. So now I'll go into the other hot versus cold. Make sure you just do both sides. Still clear. So I'll continue this until I start seeing pink again. And now you hear the pitch of my pump has changed. That means that I am out of antifreeze in my first gallon. So I'm going to go ahead and swap that out. So turning off my water pump now so I can go ahead and make the swap. So swapped out the next gallon of antifreeze. Water pump is back on. And then the other thing I did is I rotated this over here because I like to have a little bit of antifreeze go down each side of a drain. And again, just looking for this nice, consistent, pinkish color, reddish color. Alright, that looks sufficient here. Now I'll start the same procedure in the bathroom fixture. This one I can see the color coming out. Switching to the other side. Looks good. This will be the toilet, so however your toilet has water come into it. So you see that color coming in. Alright, next will be in the bathtub. Looks like a nice consistent color on that side. Switch to the other side. And then don't forget that you have a shower spout up there. Alright, so now it's time to purge your shower line. So make sure that you pop this up just like when you're taking a real shower. And then open it up and just make sure that it's running through a nice pink color. So we're back here on the outside of the rig. Don't forget that most campers these days have external outdoor showers with hot and cold, and then a hose with a shower fitting with a valve here too. So we need to purge this both hot and cold. So the water pump's on. I've got it in more antifreeze. I'm going to just open this up, and then to get it to flow I need to open up this valve. And same procedure, I'm just going to let the clear flow out until it starts becoming red. And I've got my little cup to make sure it's nice and pink, which it is. Stop the flow, change it to the other source. And it looks good. And looking back at the hot water heater, it's all done draining. So I put this back in place, the drain plug, and I'll tighten it up. You get it pretty far with fingers, and then you need to switch to a wrench or something. Every camper's a little different. It's usually pretty difficult to get in there, but just get that snugged up as tight as you can. And so there's one final thing to make sure you drain out, and I've heard it called low point, the low points in your camper. It's hot and cold, and typically I've seen them in multiple places in different campers. My last one was in the middle, this one's towards the back end. And so what you need to do is take off each of these caps and have the same procedure happen. I'll take them off and I will run it to where it clear becomes pink in my cup, and then I'll replace that. But this one's going to be difficult to film, especially as it's getting dark now, so I'll just take those off. I'll run it till it runs pink, put the cap back on, and switch to the other side. One more thing to note on these, I know it's kind of hard to see. When you're draining these, you don't actually have to pull them all the way out. If you just loosen them up and your water pump is on, pretty soon you'll have a spray start to come out the edge. And so you can just kind of do it in a controlled fashion without pulling this off and having a huge stream of water come. So you could do it either way, just depends on how much coolant you have and how comfortable you are with trying to get that off and on there. So the outside of the camper is done. The external shower has been done. The low points have been done. The freshwater holding tank has been completely drained and the cap has been reinstalled. Back here on the inside of the camper, I like to do one more thing. You might not even need to do this, but I like to just make sure that everything is still flowing. One good consistent color of the antifreeze color. So here's the other side, flowing nice and pink. And then I will just do that for the remaining fixtures. I'll just check the hot and cold of the bathroom again. We'll do the bathroom sink, I will do the toilet again, and I will do the hot and cold of the shower, just to make sure everything is still running nice and pink and doesn't have a bunch of air in the line, and then that ensures I have plenty of antifreeze down each one of these drains as well. Alright, so now I've removed the tube from the antifreeze and I put my cap back in there and tighten it up. And then the last thing I want to do, so I don't have to remember to do it next season, is I'm going to switch the flow of this valve again back to where my water pump will work with my fresh water tank. So now that there's antifreeze throughout the entire system, one thing I like to do is come in here and wipe this down, just because I don't want that pink to kind of stain anything. So I'll kind of go through and I'll wipe down all the surfaces where I was splashing the antifreeze. So now I still need to dump my tanks because I just came out of the mountains to do this video here, and typically I have everything drained. The black tank and the gray tank are already dumped, but in this case I'm going to go dump those tomorrow, and after I dump those tanks I want to ensure that I still have antifreeze protectant inside the tank itself. So I've got a couple extra gallons, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop a few more gallons just directly down the toilet and then down the drain of any of your gray drains. Any of these will work fine. That will just ensure that I have antifreeze in both holding tanks. Well, that's it. That's how I winterize my camper. Kind of a hunting rig, and we like to camp out of it as a family as well. But it's always kind of a sad time of year to put it in storage. But I hope you guys learned a lot. And if you want to learn more about hunting and anything outdoor related, check out Relentless Hunting. Please subscribe, hit your notification button, and we'll keep putting out more content for you.